background? We can do an intro later. I don't want to do it now.
She's like, you're really close to me. Oh, you look really good. I'm Phillips, and I produce the National Cannabis Festival in Washington, D.C. I grew up here in D.C. I live here in the city, I work here in the city, and it was really important to me and the people I work with to bring an event to the city focused on cannabis, but not necessarily focused on industry, focused on the nonprofit groups and the community groups that have brought us to this place where we have legal, medical, and recreational cannabis. So National Cannabis Festival is our way of thanking all of these people for their hard work and our way of encouraging people to keep moving forward. I think this year we're bringing in more national newsmakers and speakers. You'll hear about them as we announce on Monday. But part of National Cannabis Festival is music. We have our advocacy village where people can learn. We have our vendor fair where people can experience and learn about new brands. But between all of our performances, we also have members of Congress and policymakers speak. So they can help educate our crowd about ways they can support this movement and how they can get involved in their community. So we're going to have that again this year. We're really excited. We have some great speakers lined up. Well, I think choose is a very generous word. In Washington, D.C., there's not a lot of large open property that's not federal land, and as folks may or may not know, Initiative 71, which is DC's legalization of recreational use and medical use, is applicable on city property. We knew that we wanted to have this festival in a large open space. We knew that we wanted it to be in the grass so people could picnic and really enjoy the day and almost set up their own camp. And that really limited us. So we were very lucky that the folks at Events DC, which controls RFK Stadium, were willing to work with us this year and help us bring the festival in its first year and again this year to Washington, D.C. So we've been very fortunate, and it's important to us that we honor what they're doing for us and allowing us to use the property by really respecting their rules and also bringing a great community of people together.
As the festival.
So I think Mayor Bowser is in support of the will of DC voters. I think Mayor Bowser, Eleanor Holmes Norton, folks like David Grosso, Robert White, they are champions for our city's voters. They are champions of the hands-off DC movement, which is telling Congress to lay their hands off our progressive laws, which include cannabis legalization, but also women's reproductive rights and gun laws. I'm extraordinarily proud of our mayor right now. I think standing up to Congress is not an easy thing to do, and standing up to this Congress, which is an unfriendly Congress to Washington, D.C., does take a lot of courage. So I would encourage our cannabis community to stand behind our mayor, to show her that we appreciate what she's doing on our behalf so that she will continue doing it and to help amplify her voice. She has been very supportive of the festival. We really do hope that she will join us this year. For me, as a woman and as a woman of color, to have our mayor, who is a woman and a woman of color, come and address our community would be very meaningful. But beyond that, I know that the cannabis community in DC is very unique. In other states or cities, you might hear that it's very much dominated by men that look one way or another. I would say that in DC, women hold just as much real estate in the industry as men. And I would say that the DC community is also bucking trends as far as the diversity of our cannabis industry. So it's exciting to see the mayor and the city council recognizing the diversity of our community and the important things that that brings to this new industry. So I'll start with vendors. With vendors, we basically open up, so in October we opened up vending opportunities to local DC businesses only. For 1 month, local vendors had an opportunity to get a special discounted rate with the festival. Our goal is for our vendor ratio to always be heavily DC, Maryland, and Virginia.
Okay.
And to bring in additional outside vendors to support. But we would like the balance of vendors to represent our region. We open up 5 spots per category. So if you're a hydroponics shop, you'll never have more than 3 or 4 other hydroponics shops on site. The same goes for t-shirts. The same goes for vaporizer companies, simply because it would not be that much fun to show up to a festival and have 15 t-shirt companies but 1 head shop. So we try and just limit it to 4 or 5 per category, so there's a lot of good variety. So that's really the basis of our selection. Then the second question was for musical acts. So in the first couple of years of the festival, it's really important to us, and as part of our brand, to bring talent to the festival that can really speak about the social impact of cannabis prohibition. So last year we had De La Soul headline, and they were phenomenal. This year we have Talib Kweli and the Far Side headlining. Both of those performers, or Talib and also the guys from the Far Side, are heavily involved in social activism, whether that's refugees, drug policy, our criminal justice system. They all play big roles. So we're excited to have them join us this year because they're going to be able to talk about the impact of cannabis prohibition on wards 7 and 8 in our city, but also around our country. After that, we really just try and fill our schedule in with a diverse array of local performers. So we have Pinky Killacorn this year, Risa Renee, Visto, so that's Hippie Life Crew. We have Empresarios, they're an amazing local Tropicaliente band. And then we also have Kenyatta Hill Culture, who's flying up from Jamaica to join us, which should be really exciting. And then of course the Backyard Band. Who can forget the Backyard Band? So they'll be going on right before the Far Side. For me, growing up in DC, I don't know if you guys ever went to the go-go's, like the high schools around town. There used to be like Sidwell Friends, and there was that one that was at Bullis. There was the one that used to take place at Bullis out in Potomac, which is crazy if you think about it now. But this was at a time when go-go music had a stigma attached to it that was very negative. People associated go-go music with violence, with gang activity, and with drugs. And I think the longevity of our go-go bands in DC, like Northeast Groovers, Junkyard, Backyard, proves all of that wrong. We wouldn't still have these bands performing with such strong followings if they were perpetrators of violence, gang activity, and bad things in our city. For me personally, I've been a huge fan of the Backyard Band since I was 13 or 14 years old. I could not go and see them at the Ibex because I don't know anyone who was 14 who could.
Right.
But by the time I was old enough to see them, the Ibex was closed and they were performing in places like Sidwell. But to bring Backyard Band and the go-go element into this festival is really bringing, I think, a very important piece of DC history and culture. Go-go music has for a very long time spoken for a part of this city that hasn't had a voice.
Right.
And again, the fact that we have figures like Anwan Glover and Weensey who have been able to come out of this music and gain a following on the national scene. There's a siren happening, sorry. Okay, it's fine.
Perfect city.
But for them to kind of maintain this profile beyond DC, it's incredible. And the way that they have treated the festival has been so generous. For them to come and perform when they didn't know what this was, for them to participate in promotions for us is, I mean, it really does mean a lot. And I hope that Backyard and Go-Go can be part of the festival forever.
That's good, because Backyard is my favorite band, so that's important to me. That's, I got no.
I believe that women need to step out and play a prominent role in the cannabis community right now while we're still on the ground floor. When I was a teenager, I remember the dot-com boom, and it was a really big opportunity, and it was in the news, and it was a big deal. And I think that it's fair to say that even, 15, 16 years after the dot-com boom hit, people of color and women are not represented in the tech industry the way they should be.
Right.
I believe that women and people of color need to step out right now in cannabis, especially people of color who have been negatively impacted by the criminal justice system as it pertains to the meting out of justice in cannabis laws around the country. I think it would be a real shame if communities that have been persecuted by our cannabis laws don't get some benefit out of new legalization, new liberation around the laws. And to see women being able to take these bold steps in cannabis is very inspiring. I think that this industry holds hope for a lot of people in ways that other industries haven't. I was on a radio show a couple of days ago, and an older lady called in, and she said she was calling in from Virginia. And she said something interesting. She said, so federal cannabis, it's not going to be legalized federally until there's something to replace it. And I said, explain that, what does that mean? And she explained that the government has been making a lot of money for a very long time on arrests and seizing money and property from people as it relates to cannabis laws. And until there's something they can replace that revenue with, cannabis won't be legal federally. I believe that we have an opportunity. So like from a more positive perspective, I agree with her, but I believe that what we're going to replace the monies that the federal government loses to cannabis arrests with is tax money from cannabis, is revenue from this industry. So I understand what she's saying, but I do believe we're moving towards a world where cannabis is legal. I'm not entirely sure on recreation. I know they've decriminalized in Maryland, and I know that their dispensaries start opening up late summer, fall.
Okay. That's
huge news. But one thing that's also interesting is that I know that Virginia has made big leaps and bounds on medical cannabis literally this past week.
Oh, wow.
So like I said, I think the tide has changed. I think that getting medical cannabis accepted is step one. And then we start to talk about what medical definitions are. It's hard to argue with someone that there's not a condition for medical cannabis, you know, for insomnia or anxiety. Those are conditions that we treat with like medicines and pharmaceuticals now. So I think step one is getting people to accept cannabis as a medical option. And then step two is to redefine how we view medical use. I don't know if you've seen this commercial, but there is a commercial featuring a 50 or 60-year-old Caucasian man who gets on camera and explains that, and he uses the word opiates, which I find interesting. He explains that he is constipated from his opiate medication for his back pain. And so he is talking about this other medication you can use to help with that. The fact that this is on like every network of television, I'm like, why isn't this a red flag to people? You're taking something that causes you to have to take something else to fix the side effects of the something you were taking. But to be quite honest, the only side effect I've ever experienced from cannabis is eating too much or taking a nap. And those are things that I don't need medicine to fix. So what I think is happening right now is, you know, the pharmaceutical industry is, there's a whole industry of pharmaceuticals that support opiate use.
Yes.
So opiates are one thing, that's your pain, your discomfort. But then if you're on opiates regularly, now you also need these constipation medications and these stomach lining medications and these appetite medications, and it's madness, and it's an endless cycle. And you get to a certain point where you're wondering if the issue is more the medication or the actual ailment, but no one can tell you because your body has become a chemistry experiment. So I'd prefer not to let that happen to my body or the people I care about. So I'd like them to have the option to use cannabis. And if they choose not to use cannabis as their option, that's their choice. But I want it to be an option.
Yes. If you don't have insurance or your insurance doesn't cover certain pain medicine and they limit you,
you can grow your medication. I mean, and what an amazing thing that is, to be able to control the environment that you're growing your medication in. To be able to go and look at a nutrient bottle and read the back and decide if that's something that you want to put in a plant that you're going to ingest. We don't even have that opportunity in the grocery store.
Yes.
So no, I think that cannabis is going to open up a world of homeopathic medical opportunities, and also just an alternative that people so desperately need. Our veterans need it. People suffering from chronic pain need it. So I'm hopeful that we're looking at a future where cannabis is legal. There are a lot of magical things about this festival. A lot of them have to do with our community. And a lot of those magical things have to do with things like, you know, we started crowdfunding for this event last January in New City. We had like my savings account in January. And it's not cheap to run an event like this. So we crowdfunded, and when people realized that Facebook wasn't letting us advertise, we were like, that was going to be the end of the National Cannabis Festival.
Wow.
But the community heard that we weren't being allowed to advertise, and people just started sharing. That's the only way the crowdfunding happened. And then once we had like that cash, we were able to get enough things in place that we could start seeing the sponsors and vendors. But this is truly, when I say this is a community-based event, if last January the DC community hadn't stepped up and helped us raise the first $20,000 to make this happen, we'd never have had a festival.
Can I make one suggestion? And it's probably too late, but maybe this could be for next year.
Yeah.
You have like a food truck that just has like local produce, like fruits and veggies.
That would be so fun. This might not be too late, but to have like a fruit vendor, that would be awesome.
Yeah, because right now I'm supposed to be on this like diet. It's not really a diet, but it kind of is. And so an event like the Cannabis Festival is dangerous for my diet, but a produce vendor would be perfect.
That sounds
I would spend
awesome.
a lot of money there. I know
I think we should definitely look at that this year. No, we'll try and see if we can get squeezed in. So, full disclosure, we don't control the food options at the festival. Events DC, which is the city government, they're like, we own the food. It's fine. But it means that we just have to constantly remind them we need more, or here's what we really want. So I'll talk to them pretty soon. It'll be very good.
Okay. Oh, they will probably really like that. They already have a farmer's market there on Saturdays anyway. So I'm pretty sure it will be nothing, I guess, to add to one of the trucks to just hang around.
Yeah, I mean, there must be like some kind of organization that does like healthy eating in the city that would be able to. It would be very cool.
Yeah. I need to find out.
So we have street teams that are out in all wards right now, just letting folks know the event is happening. Unfortunately, putting out posters is not like the easiest thing. They tend to get taken down.
Yes.
But we have folks flyering in all wards, and I'm glad that you brought that up, because one of the missions of the festival is to be approachable, affordable, and appealing. And affordable to anybody, so we would love the festival to be less than $35. Right now, that's what we have to charge so we can cover our costs. But we're hoping that $35 for like a concert on the caliber of the concert we're producing, plus the full day with all of the freebies and fun, is worth it for people. So that's affordable. Appealing, we want this festival to be appealing to people who don't use cannabis every day. We want it to be appealing to the guy that only smokes when he meets up with his college buddies, or the woman that hasn't smoked since college, or the person that just smokes on the weekends. Like, whatever it is for you, for our community to grow and our small businesses to grow, we have to get out of the immediate everyday users to the people who think cannabis is an okay thing, and to the people who can help us grow this industry. And then appealing or approachable, we wanted it to be approachable no matter what ward you live in. So whether you're coming from 1, 6, 7, or 8, we wanted you to get there easily. RFK means a lot to me because I live in that area and grew up in that area. But it also means a lot because I know that our residents in 5, 6, 7, and 8 frequently have to ride 2 buses and 2 trains to get to any major event in our city. So maybe to someone else that's an inconvenience, but for those people that's actually a financial decision. Metro's not cheap anymore. I can't have people paying $8 to $10 to ride the train to get to us. We wanted to make it easy for folks to get to us from 5, 6, 7, and 8. So hopefully we've accomplished that. Plus there is no location more DC than RFK Stadium, with the Metro tracks running over the festival grounds and RFK in the background and backyard band on the stage. That is the moment of the afternoon that you know you're in Washington.